Okay, my friends, this is going to be a fun day at Mudfossil University. They have discovered strangely cooked bones, and they're talking 300 million years ago, can finally be explained. Well, I've been talking about a hot water flood, which cooked all my fossils. And my fossils are not just bones, they're complete body parts, and I mean, right down to every little bit, even feathers. And the reason is because nucleophilic substitution in these wet, hot water floods. Now they say, oh, these had to be hydrothermal vents from down under the ocean, hot water's bubbling up. Well, that's part of it, yeah. Because when Venus almost impacted Earth, the waters literally boiled on the Earth. The oceans, I don't know if they boiled, but they were pretty damn close to boiling. All the gigantic creatures died, and they were gigantic. Now, they're going to be talking about why they can explain this, and it's because of the appetite. Hold on, and it's not like how hungry you are, it's a rock appetite. Okay, my friends, this is kind of funny actually, but it's tragic at the same time. What they have found here is apatite. These apatite in orange calcites, and they break it all down until they find the little bits and pieces of calcite, and then they try to sell them for like $795. Now look carefully at what you're seeing right there. Now here's what I have in the microscope right there. Do you see much of a difference? I don't. Alright, see that? That, my friends, is apatite. Now guess what? If I found that and I just smashed it into little bits to find that little piece of apatite, what would I be missing? Well, I'm going to show you what I would miss. Alright, this is where I showed you that apatite. This is a fingertip. It's about the same size as mine. And this is a little moist right now. But you see these little holes here up at the top, those little holes right there? Those three little spots. That's where the apical tuft is, at the tip of the finger. That's where blood ran out. That little crystallized stuff is blood. You see that? That ran out and ran down. And this is where that apatite is. You see this back here? They would have broken this all up and just taken that one little piece out for apatite and lost this whole fingertip. That's the problem. They're looking for bones. And now they realize there's a lot more to it than just bones. You see these little flappy, strappy looking things here? Those crystals. Let me see if I get a better shot. You gotta get, there we go, there. That's a nice shiny spot right there. You see those crystals? That's grip skin. That's the tough skin that's on the bottom of your fingertips and the palms of your hands and your feet. And this is a fingertip. That's just a fingertip. And blood, you know, see the blackishness of the fingernail? And that's the blood runs out the tip. And they form crystals. Watch. There's one pretty good one here. I think it's amethyst maybe. Can't get a good shot of it. Hold on. Alright, there it is right there. That little blob right there. See it shining now? I don't know exactly what it is. I don't care really that much about the chemistry. I fully understand now the process, and now they do too. This was cooked in the Great Flood. And that's why you got apatite here and there. That's fine. I can go along with that. I'm not going to fight those guys. But it's not from just hydrothermal vents. This was a worldwide catastrophic event. And and this was right here on my property, just laying there. I didn't go out digging for this stuff. It was just laying there. What can I say? This is what it is. I just showed you the apatite. And here's what they would do. They'd dig in and they'd find that little bit and piece and throw all the rest away. And sometimes these pieces are pretty good size because there were just giants everywhere. Where did I show you the fingertip? I'm going to show you that in a second. Okay, let me just show you something. This is a giant toe, and it is a left toe. Yeah, a left toe from, it looks to be like, to me, it's a giant human creature. This is the finger, the toenail right there. Now, I'm going to show you in very close detail. This is the vein side. This is the artery side. And the artery side happens to be the side that has the callus. This is a big toe, and that's a callus. And I'm talking about a callus. And that covers the artery. So the artery normally blows out, like I think I showed you on that little fingertip. This time, the black blood blew out. You see the black blood here? All that black blew out. Normally that never happens. But it blew out because the blood was running down this way. And it had to go somewhere. Normally the red side goes out. This time the black side blew out. Now, this sucker is heavy. Ugh. Alright, so let's look at where the blood comes in. This was the vein side. Now normally, like, you wouldn't, that's the vein blowing black out here this way, because all the blood ran down, had nowhere to go, because of this cap, which is the callus. Now this is a strap of, they wrap around the bone. All these bones have different straps wrapping around them, like this one here. You see this? I don't know if you can see that or not. Let me make sure I'm in the right area. You should be able to see those little lines in there. They fuse together. Like the ancients called it tunica. Now look at this. This is this is the guy's callus. Woohoo! Look at that thing. That's the callus. This is the bottom of his toe. And that's the little pad you have, same thing you have in the back of your toe. You'll find it in the same place in the back of your toe. This is where the grip skin is. And I'll show you these fibers. Remember I showed you the fibers on the little one? Well, these are the fibers on the big one here. Now, this is the callus. Look at the size of that thing. Look at that thing. That is all callus. And this is the finger, the toenail. Now, right there's a ton of blood. In your toes and your fingers, there's blood gushing out of you. I'll put this in a microscope and we'll be looking at it. But again, there's always an artery side and a vein side. The vein is black, the artery is red. See the red up here? We're going to be looking at that. That's the toenail. And this right here is where the blood was shooting back. Underneath here is the bottom of the toe. And it's tough as hell. This stuff here is tough, this grip skin. And that is the little gnarly pad that's on the bottom of your toe, same place. Now, I'm going to get it set up and we're going to look at it in the scope. Okay, let's see if we can get any catalase reaction from this area here. Boom, right away, instantaneously. And this is 1 foot long, this toe. Look at the catalase reacting right away. Watch it. I was watching it here. Hold on. You see it bubbling over here? We should be able to see a pretty good reaction. It might take a little while to get going. This thing's been sitting around a very long time. But I can see where I would expect to see it happening is right on these very edges, right down like in here, where the seams are. Let me see if I can get down in there a little better. You see the bubbling coming up? It's going to take a little while to do, but this is this big fingertip. Big toenail. And I'm right at the toenail where as much red area as I can find right at the top. Now let's just keep our eyes on it. You see it bubbling up? This is catalase. I'm about as down as far as I can get. Hold on. These are little tiny, tiny bubbles. Tiny bubbles. There they come, see them? There they come. That's the catalase reacting right there. It's going down inside and hitting the enzymes that create that bubbling effect. I'm going to put a little more down in there. The more you put in, the more it will bubble up. You see it? And the reason is that in all membranes, you have catalase. And that is what protects you, so that anything trying to invade you in through that membrane is killed by the catalase. And when I say killed, what I mean is I'm talking about oxygen reactive species. All right, because this is what it's doing. It's breaking off a piece of oxygen so that it stops the extra oxygen from coming in. It liberates it and breaks it off of the hydrogen peroxide. All right, that's a catalase reaction. And now that's this gigantic toe. All right, it'll sit here and it'll start to bubble, I think, because it's eating it up really quick. I'll put some more in, you'll see it start to bubble some more. And then eventually it'll start to foam. I'm seeing it foaming now. You see the foam? Watch. See it start to foam? Here, look at it bubble. There's a ton of catalase in here. So what does that tell me? If there's catalase in there, and it's all over now, it's starting to show up everywhere. If there's catalase in there, which is an enzyme, it means the DNA should still be in there, because there's virtually raw blood coming out of this thing. You see, it's going to really start to foam up there. Anyway, this is, sometimes it just takes a while. You just got to keep watching and keep adding more and more hydrogen peroxide, because it's converting it as fast as it can, and you can see it's blowing out big balls of bubbles of oxygen. It's converting millions and millions of those hydrogen peroxide molecules. Now watch, I put a little more on there, the same thing's going to happen. It's just going to keep happening over and over and over again, because we got a ton of, you're going to start to see a lot of little tiny bubbles. It'll actually turn up to like whipped cream looking stuff. But there's deep inside, by the time they're coming up, they congeal into a big ball. Anyway, let's take a look at the scab and stuff. I mean the callus, and some scabs too, why not? Alright, let's just take a little gander at this thing here. Now, this again is where the fingernail was, and it's blood has blown out of it. These things are saturated with blood, your fingers and your toes, absolutely soaked. This is the callus. Look at that thing. Oh. You see, it's almost wrapped like a fabric. Now, it's still got some moisture in here. I washed this off a little bit. It's been sitting around for years and years. And but you could see that I could actually see blood in here if I want to come in here and look at it, and I suppose I will. But that's the thickness of this layers of this guy's callus. Look at that thing. I mean, you know, this. And then we all have one of these little pads in the bottom of your toe too. There's one up here. And this is the grip skin. Let me show you what the grip skin looks like in a microscope. Hold on one sec. And by the way, this thing is, it's about 1 foot long. A little less, maybe 10, 11 inches, something like that, at its longest. And width is about 7 inches wide. So it was a good size creature. Now let's see what this grip skin looks like, because I showed you also in this little fingertip. This little fingertip has a grip skin in here. Same grip skin, that little flashy looking grip skin. And then it also has the same apatite as is in this stuff here. And they would have broken all this away and just taken the apatite, not realizing that they were moving all of the good stuff out. Alright, here's the, hold on. This is the grip skin. That's the fibers that are in the grip skin. That's the bottom of this big finger, big toe. And it's really, really strappy and tough. And there's so much more to this. Everything's got to start over again. We just don't know what we were dealing with. We just didn't know. Alright, this is where the blood is like sort of leaked through the callus. Now, you see these shiny bits? Those are metals. And as I turn up the light, we'll see more and more of the other things that make up what ran out of that callus. It tried to flush the blood out, and it couldn't. It was capped off. The blood sort of made like clotting. And then some of the metals collected behind, and it's saturated with metals. I mean, it's totally saturated. And this is the callus. Now I'm going to back way up, way up, as far as I can get away. And this is going to be hard to see. This is going to be hard to see. Never mind. Bad idea, Roger. Here, let's just go this way. This is what's coming through that callus. All metals and little bits of blood here and there, but where I'm looking is right here. You see, I'm looking at that, and there's just a microscope right up there. You know, it's a telescoping microscope, so you can get in deep, you can get far away. It's nice. Now, let me just put a little Catalase on there for kicks. See if we get any bubbling out of that. Look at that, immediately. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Let me come down on that. Because anything that has blood in it, you're going to get a Catalase reaction. There it is right there. Hold on. Look at the bubbles coming out of it. Look at that. Look at that, my friends. That's Catalase. And it's reacting with the hydrogen peroxide I just put on there. That's what all those bubbles are. See that? That's the test to see if you have enzymes, which are catalase. And catalase is a very, very, very specific enzyme that does click chemistry to hydrogen peroxide, to any extra oxygen, and it breaks it off and spits it out. Hydrogen peroxide is just loaded with extra oxygen. That's why we're seeing all those bubbles. Every time it liberates an oxygen, it turns it into a little tiny bubble. These are bigger bubbles that have had thousands probably of little bubbles congeal into the bigger bubbles. Alright, well, we saw the catalase reaction. I can see the callus, you can see the vein blood, you can see the nail, and it's, like I say, it's, I don't know, 11, 12 inches, something like that, from front to back. You can see the arteries and the veins and the grip skin, and I mean, and there's virtually no question I can get DNA out of there. Now, I've been resisting doing that. I did original DNA tests in 2015, the first ones I ever done on ancient DNA of humans. And it came back, all of them were positive for the DNA. Now, I'm certain I could get DNA out of this. It's just flush with blood. And I can get DNA out of most of my stuff. You see that? That's what that apatite was before. There was a little lump, I think it was red, or I believe maybe green, but it was attached to this. This is nothing more than skin. It's kaolin clay. See this? These are tiny, tiny, tiny little bits and pieces. This is also kaolin clays. See, these are the fine skin. This is the fine clay. They make fine china out of it. Slip skin. It's just as like slimy when it's kaolin clays. Same colors as the creatures on Earth, the bodies. See, it's kaolin clay with a blood vessel in it. Now these are fingertips, but the toes are exactly the same thing. They're the terminals. One is the artery, one is the vein. One comes down and the other one goes back. And I'm showing, that's what I showed on that big toe. All right, this is a hand, but it's exactly the same as a toe. And right up here is where the toe would have broken. And remember, there was a black, and the other side was where the artery came in, and one side had the big callus on there. Well, that was the artery side, and one was the vein side, that's all. And the vein blew out where normally the artery would blow out. You see that? You never would realize how fine the layers of hair are. You see those layers? There's about hundreds of layers here. That's one hair. And you see how that's the clay of your skin. And guess what? This is a hair follicle right here. This is right there. This here is the sebaceous glands. You see that little blob there? That's the sebaceous gland. Right there is the erector muscle, where the muscle so your hair can stand up on end. And there's the root ball, vein and artery. Root ball turns around and sends the hair right up through the stalk. And that's from a giant. That's a pretty good sized hairball. You see this? Think I was kidding? This is it right here. This is the erector muscle. It attaches right there. All right, so your hair can do this. On the other side, right there, is the sebaceous gland. You see it? It's identical. And right at the bottom, the hair goes down and then comes back up. See, it goes down and then comes straight back up. And there's the vein and artery right there, the two little hair papillae. That's the sebaceous gland, erector muscle. That's a good sized creature that had that for every hair on its head or face or wherever. All right, let's read this about apatite, which is basically bone. All right, the chemistry of the apatite crystals can tell us a lot about how it formed, whether it grew organically in the animal, formed when the animal was being buried, or whether some other factors influenced its growth. And we're going to talk about that. And this is geologist Gary O'Sullivan of Trinity College, Dublin. And I'm going to try to get a hold of him and see if we can compare notes. Now, apatite is a major constituent of living bone, so it is not surprised we find some preserved in these bones. However, when we look at the chemistry of apatite in the bones from Jarrow, we find this apatite formed by heated fluids within the earth. Heated fluids within the earth. All right, here's their explanation for these apatite found in these bone samples in the ocean. They say the chemistry of the bones suggests hydrothermal fluids. Hydrothermal means hot, watery fluids. Superheated water from under the Earth's crust, like from underground volcanoes, they seep up. They call them the black smokers. seeped into the rock, heating it to temperatures around 3 to 350 degrees Celsius, which is 5 to 600 degrees Fahrenheit, and melting the apatite that is in these bones. So there's apatite in the bones. They say it melted. Then, as the bones cooled, the apatite recrystallized into the tabular form the scientists observed. Well, why would it recool if it's sitting on top of one of these hot smokers? But that's another issue. Radiometric dating, they say it's 302 million years old. Let me tell you something. I'm going to explain to you in a little bit of a ramble about my property and all the mud fossils I show. Virtually everything I have shown is on my own property, above ground. Only a few things. It just, you know, they plowed up the ground and everything when they built the house. And then after that, they dug another foundation because I had a little office added, and they piled up some stuff, and then all kinds of stuff came out of there. But most of the other stuff was in rock walls and above ground, just laying on the ground, primarily in rock walls. This is a sort of a rural area where there was farms and so forth, and they put rock walls all around the farms. When they cleared the rocks up, they just piled them around and made rock walls. And you know, I have a good-sized piece of property, but I only looked at about maybe 2 or 3 acres tops of just walking around looking. I wasn't doing any serious investigating, just picking them up off the ground. I mean, just absolutely scads of stuff. No toes, Caesar, he's laying on the ground somewhere. I don't know, I can't remember where I found my friend Caesar, but he's a good friend to have, I can tell you that. You know, I don't want to rain on anybody's parade, but I'm going to tell you what. These parades are going on and on and on, and they're never getting anywhere. They're just walking around in circles parading. They say radiometric dating based on the decay of these crystals dates it to approximately 302 million years, clinching the theory. I clinched it right there. Now, I'm sorry, I can't help myself. We have also been able to radiometrically date the apatite which formed during a time when all the continents of Earth were coming together and colliding, forming the supercontinent Pangaea. As the continents collided, they formed the mountain belts with superheated subterranean fluids flowing of them. It is these superheated fluids which flowed throughout Ireland that cooked and melted the bones of the fossils, causing the alterations we see today, mud fossils. No, it wasn't that. It was the impact of Venus's atmosphere into ours. It took 7 days approaching Earth and combusting the atmosphere, boiling the oceans, and then it just skipped off our atmosphere. All you have to do is read the ancient accounts. Velikovsky did the research, and this just been regarded, you know, and they're doing this 302 million years ago. Everything I have is laying on the top of the surface of the ground. And they're saying, oh, well, that's what it caused all of these things in Ireland to cook these bones, causing all these kind of things. Well, that's a no-to. It not only cooked the bones, it cooked the flesh. Everything converted into stone. Everything I have. I mean, some of them actually boiled off all the flesh and ended up with bones, yes. That's a bone. And that doesn't, you know, let's look at some of this apatite. But here's what it's saying. Preserving almost completely articulated skeletons with scaly skin and the whole 9 yards, which I've been showing them for years and years and years. Okay, I'm going to leave it at this, but there were big creatures on Earth. The black and red is the colors of blood. Black is the vein blood, red is the artery blood. And my root ball is like this, but can you imagine the root balls on those puppies? Yikes. I love you all. Let's start thinking, all right? Let's ask people to think.